Hello and welcome to Mr. Atul Raja to our new episode on India Career Center. Today the topic is about building a personal brand. And let me give a context of this subject. When I started looking out to do a business outside my domain, and then I realized that people are going to believe me only if they see that I am somebody who is capable with the required skills and knowledge to deliver. And that's exactly where I thought that my own personal brand building for that particular business line is very important. And I would like to correlate this subject to lots of professionals who are in their mid-career, who are contemplating to do something in their lives as a business owner going forward. For them also, it is very important to also start thinking about how to start building your personal brand right when they are in mid of their own professional career in different levels. Another set of young people who I thought could be also an important segment to really get affected by this is also the young people who are in their schools and colleges right now. And let's say by 2030, they get into some kind of professional career. And for them also, it is important to also know that by 2030, the world is going to be very different because of automation, because of technology and so on and so forth. So I clearly foresee that traditional jobs may not be a plenty by 2030, but there'll be no dearth of contractual jobs or contracts, professional contracts. So which means that younger people who are in school and college right now, I think they have to even more prepared and start building their own capabilities in terms of skills and knowledge, and also in the process start building their own personal brand. To understand these concepts, I think we have the best possible speaker today, Mr. Atul Raja. Sir, welcome once again to our show, and thank you for taking out time from your schedule to talk to us. Welcome once again.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra. It's a pleasure. And thank you also for having me in your show.
Thank you. So to start with, as I always do, I always ask my guest speakers to talk about their early personal life, their education, and how the early career has been, and what really things, how the events have shaped them to what they are today. So take us through your personal journey, sir.
Right. Once again, thanks, Dr. Mishra. I belong to a middle-class background. I've been brought up in a government ecosystem. My early schooling happened in Mussoorie. So it was the hills of Mussoorie that shaped my formative thoughts. I'm a science cum management graduate. I started my career with the Times of India as a management trainee. Since then, it has been a roller coaster, and I've never looked back in the corporate life since then. I feel a key highlight of my long career of 3 decades has been a very cross-industrial or a cross-sector experience. And why I'm highlighting this? Because to move out of your comfort zone is never easy, but I did that. And I did that with some difficulty. And looking back, I'm glad I did it because the learning curve has been immense and very diverse. Different industries give you very diverse learning. The learning curve is never complete, but sector-wise learning is absolutely diverse, and you will never inculcate that kind of a diverse learning if you stick yourself to one particular sector, which many people do, and there is no right or wrong here. But I see that as a great career and a professional strength. So my experience actually ranges from consumer durables to FMCG to telecom to automobiles and to non-profits. So it's a cocktail experience, and today I'm here in my capacity as a career marketer speaking to you.
Fantastic, sir. I think it's really a wonderful journey, and I'm sure a lot of young listeners and viewers today will actually take a lot of learning and take your journey as an inspiration going forward. So, going forward, as a specialist in the field of branding and marketing, help us really understand the difference between a product or organizational brand versus a personal brand.
Well, that's a very interesting question because there is no straight answer to it, right? Because there are two divergent scenarios that coexist and run together. Scenario one, where the identity or the organizational brand is very closely intertwined with the leader brand or the brand of the co-founder or a very strong persona, right? So in essence, what we are seeing is that a corporate identity in scenario one gets very closely associated with that of the leader of the organization. Take Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw and Biocon, right? Take Elon Musk and Tesla. Take Richard Branson and Virgin, right? So their identities are very closely intertwined with the identities of their organization. From a consumer perception point of view, it's very difficult to differentiate that, right? So if a Richard Branson is feisty, he's unconventional, he's youthful, he's chirpy, he's energetic. So similar will be the brand attributes of the Virgin as an organization, right? So that is scenario one. In the second scenario, the consumer perception looks at the organization as a whole, and their perception is actually developed by the level of interaction and the people they interact with in the organization. Be it the consumer service guys, be it the people who develop the product line, be it the sales and marketing teams, right? So there is no persona that dominates the consumer perception in scenario two, but it is the individual factors, or it may be sum total of some of the individual factors. It could be the product line and the novelty or quality of the product line. It could be the consumer service experience of the organization that a customer has. It could be the innovative equity that the organization have. It also could be because of the marketing campaigns that, color the consumer perception in many cases. It could be the highly visible retail presence and the distribution muscle of an organization, right? So interestingly, in scenario two, if you are a Hindustan Lever, and then how many of you will know what is the name of its MD and CEO, right? If I say Sanjeev Mehta, does it ring a bell? Perhaps no. If I mention Suresh Narayanan, the MD and CEO of Nestle India, or even if I mention the name of Rajesh Gopinathan, the MD and CEO of TCS, does it ring a bell? Or does the equity of TCS as an organization match in any way the personality of Rajesh Gopinath in terms of his personality and what he stands for? This answer will be no. So in essence, in this case, your brand, organizational brand is more a product and service led. So to answer your question in a nutshell, we are talking about one side of the coin, one scenario where it is a leader-led organization brand, and on the other side, it is a product and service-led organization brand. So both the divergent scenarios coexist together.
That's right, and we can say that the brand is nothing but a promise. I think this is very clearly what it is expected, whether it is a Tesla or a Virgin Atlantic or TCS or Hindustan Lever. I think the promise the brand is able to make and create about its products and services, that's exactly what comes out over a period of time, and that's basically the perception which is created over a period of time through the brand, through the through the services and products what they offer. So the same thing could be talked about for a individual also. I think whether it is within the organization or in the society or in personal life, we all are known to be XYZ, or we are all known to be like XYZ type of person. So does it really mean that that defines the person as a brand?
As I said, let me give you an example. The leader brand and the organization brand are very closely intertwined together in the scenario one, right? And by the way, one of the examples that I gave you of Biocon, I have worked in that organization in the past, and so I've worked with the leader also very closely. So I am privy to the fact that what Kiran actually stands for, right, is what the organization stands for. She's very hard on ethics and values. Biocon is equally hard on ethics and values. She is a stickler for processes, robust systems and processes. So she does that in her day-to-day routine, and that trickles down to Biocon as an organization as well. So to answer your question, the answer is absolutely yes. The reflection of the leader persona on the organization brand is absolutely complete, right? And it is a true reflection. Otherwise, scenario one will not happen. Otherwise, we'll start talking of scenario two.
That's right. Okay, so coming to defining what are the personal attributes. What are the different attributes of a personal brand?
Yeah, very strong personal brand must have several attributes, right? The combination that goes into building a strong personal brand, if you ask me to make it simpler, it is a combination of three things. It's a combination of your personality with qualifications and achievements, right? So these three things actually encapsulate a personal brand building effort, right? And if you Google today, or if you do reading, you'll get tons of attributes that any personal branding effort can exemplify, right? So there are few attributes that contribute significantly to creation of a strong personal brand. Some of them are absolutely important, and I'd like to touch upon them. And the first is you need to have a 360-degree personality, right? This really helps you to reach out to a diverse audience, right? If you just focus on being a domain specialist, then you will get a domain-specific audience, right? So the key is to create a brand that symbolizes a 360-degree awareness and knowledge, right? That remains at a periphery of your domain expertise, right? So if I'm a marketing specialist, I remain a marketing specialist. But to create a 360-degree periphery around my marketing domain knowledge is absolutely important. So this is what I feel, is a very strong attribute for anyone who wants to create a personal brand for whatever reasons, right? And the second very important attribute I feel is authenticity. And if you ask me to list down a single most important attribute, this is the one I feel, right? You have to come across as the real you to your audience, to your colleagues, and to the outside world, right? Never overstate the performance that you have to deliver, right? In fact, if you underpromise and overdeliver, I would gun for it. I would recommend it highly because, in essence, that will really help you to connect with your consumers. And this is a more sustainable approach rather than overstating and under-delivering, right? Thirdly, I think relevance is absolutely important as an attribute. It's not just about bridging expectations with delivery. You have to be contemporary and in tune with the times, right? If Dr. Mishra belongs to the 60s, then his branding approach and his persona does not necessarily signify when he starts building his brand, that does not necessarily be belonging to the 60s. It needs to belong to the current times, current era, and it needs to be dynamic, young. So this is very important. Let's take the example of job hunting, right? If you are applying to a fashion industry, then your brand should reflect your sense of style, actually, right? If you are applying to a tech-led organization, then your brand should reflect your experience and expertise in technology, right? So by being relevant, you are making it easy for employers to see how good a fit you are for their organization. And so this can apply this to any other field. So this is how you are relevant. Also, you are relevant by being up to date with raging issues of the day, with the current affairs of the day, with the social issues of the day, because you need to be able to debate the issues of the day, and you need to be strongly opinionated, right, to be seen as relevant to a particular ecosystems. So this is what I meant when I said you need to create a strongly relevant brand. Also, I personally feel today is the world of clutter, right? So how do you avoid the clutter? You are also trying to create a personal brand. I'm also trying to do that. So are hundreds and thousands of other people. You need to be unique in your brand building efforts, right? What sets you apart in a very clear and unambiguous manner, right? What makes you special? What you are offering that nobody else does? I think you should answer all these questions to make your personal brand unique and why people should care about you. So this is a clutter breaking exercise and a very strong attribute that a personal brand building effort should be undertaken. The next thing is very important is consistency. Once you have established your uniqueness, your tone, your niche that you have created for yourself, right? It's important to stick with it, right? Because if you stick with your niche, with your tone of voice, then, the community will stick with you, right? Because with your consistency comes trust and credibility. People know what they can expect from you, and then they will stick with you. And finally, you need to be appealing. Your brand attribute or brand building effort should be attractive. And when I say appealing and attractive, it doesn't mean, from a film star perspective. When I say appeal, I mean you need to have a rational and emotional component to it. There are people who will talk you down, say, for example, with an air of superiority. Do you find such people appealing?
No.
Would you want to go back to them again? Would you want to communicate to them? Absolutely not. So, apart from the plethora and tens of attributes that are available there out in the outside world, Dr. Mishra, I personally feel these are 6 attributes that can actually go into a very strong personal brand building process, and these should be focused upon initially, and then everything else will fall into place.
Fantastic. Very well said, sir. So I will like to quote here my own personal journey. I mean, while working for about 22 odd years, I never really focused on building my own personal brand. I mean, that could be true for many of my similar age people, or maybe slightly younger people. And it could be also because of the organizational compulsions, because some of the organizations are not so very open to their employees having an opinion about things which could be outside the work relevance also. But what do you really suggest for young people who are professionals in their own capacity in different organizations, And to how do they start? I mean, probably if I was 15 years younger and I had heard about this conversation, probably I would have taken a different route altogether, which you're talking. So, how do you address to my younger self 15 years back?
Right. So I can fully align with what you are saying is because for a number of years, my personal brand was also, restricted to the organization, to the my colleagues, and it was very intrinsic, and it gave me a lot of happiness that listen, wherever I am working, I have a brand equity and things like that. But times have changed very fast now, and your brand building effort has to be more extrinsic than intrinsic, right? So you have to look at the outside media, you have to leverage a number of things. And so I also did that, right? And I did that in the later part of my career. So, for the benefit of the young people, let me just dwell upon my experience of how I went upon building my own personal brand. Although, let me specify with a caveat that there is no perfect model, and this is experiential. It may apply to some, it may not apply to some, but hopefully it is useful for the young people. What I did is I focused on the PI elements, as they say: uh, performance, image, and exposure. So it helped me get into engaging conversations and building trust, as I was saying. On the other hand, PR plays a very important role in thought leadership. If you want to convey yourself as an industry spokesperson or as a thought leader in a very specific knowledge domain. So I actually engaged in, I authored a lot of articles in the mainline media, and in the process, I assisted a lot of readers and people with the most pressing questions. So this was one of the first things that I did. Also, a second thing that I did, and I felt it was very critical and most important component of my exercise, is that I used content heavily as a profile builder and a key differentiator. Now, I was able to do that. Let me specify, because content is a forte of mine, right? For a number of years, being a CopCom professional and being in the marketing field, it came naturally to me. But then for the benefit of the people, I used what I call as a 3C approach in terms of content: create, curate, and cultivate. When I say create and curate, I meant create and curate my personal values, create and curate my thought process, create and curate content in a way that educates and motivates much more than entertains, right? And when I speak about cultivating content, I emphasize the use of very strong visuals. And I did that regularly in order to create a visual identity. So my learning is that a consistent effort with targeted content is a great help in creating a like-minded community. Right? So that's the second thing that I did. The third thing is, I leveraged the podcasts, right? So podcasts is a new phenomena today, right? And it's a very strong medium. It is an upcoming medium, but it is going to explode in times to come. I was reading a few data points, and it actually struck me. And because of what I read, I started using this media heavily. I was reading a PwC survey of 2020 that actually said that India has become the third largest consumer in terms of podcasts. And there are 58 million listeners to podcasts every month in India. And the figures struck me that this is the new audience. This is a massive audience, and you need to tap into it. So any young professional will definitely need to tap into it. There is also, a similar study of 2020 by KPMG that says that there is 20% increase in the podcast listenership in India in the first year of the pandemic itself. So this is the kind of audience and the massive reach that the podcasting platforms provide you today. So I just leveraged it. Fourthly, I am a strong proponent of very strong research, and it goes hand in hand with the content outlook that you do. I feel strong research is the backbone of compelling content, and I do that all the time. So you research and then you come up with ways and means, basis that research, strategies, how to personify and bring that research element into your brand building efforts. And finally, I have always supported my online contacts. I personally feel whether I know people very well or I don't know them well, I've always gone ahead and tried to help them. I feel, it creates a goodwill beyond imagination, and unwillingly or unwittingly, it actually enhances your personal brand building efforts to a large extent. So these are the 5 things that I did, right from leveraging social media to PR to leveraging the podcasting platforms to entailing aggressive research to helping out people and creating that empathy value on the online platforms. I think a combination of this has worked very well for me. And the young people of today can actually, if they want, not all of them, but some of them can definitely help them.
Yeah, very well said. And I do also, looking at your profile on the LinkedIn, you have been regularly also upgrading yourself with your different institution where you have taken up education or upskilling. So please do also let us know about your journey with respect to those institutions also.
Right. See, the learning curve is never complete, as I had said earlier. Learning never ceases, right? And today's world, it's changing so fast thanks to digitization, thanks to the pandemic, thanks to the new world of work, thanks to the future of jobs. Upskilling, reskilling, and multi-skilling is of paramount importance today. It applies to a blue-collar worker on the shop floor. It applies to white-collar workforce. It applies to the youth of today, and it applies to people like me, right? So, just to answer your question, it has been my endeavor also to consistently upskill. So I undertake a lot of leadership programs. On one side of the coin, I enhance my learning onto the digital media. So I've actually taken course in IIM Bangalore, a specific course on digital media, and I was, it was so helpful that I was sitting as part of the curriculum in the class itself, and I was sending emails to my team, check this, check that, because today I handle 25 social media platforms, I handle 9 websites. If I'm not up to date, then I won't be able to do justice to my work profile. So you consistently need to upskill. And then, leadership as a very concept is utmost intriguing. That's what I feel. So, I've taken up a leadership program at the Wharton Business School at the University of Pennsylvania. And I personally feel that it's more than, what is taught to you. It's the peers that are sitting next to you that teach you more. The interactions are absolutely enriching. Sometimes they are pretty intense. The debates are of the highest quality. So that's the kind of learning that not only me, everybody needs at his or her own level. So that's the kind of upskilling I have always endeavored to do, and I will continue to do.
Fantastic. So what's on the anvil now?
So the anvil now is, the new upcoming things like the metaverse, where you need to be constantly. So you need to, if tomorrow there is a program on metaverse, I would love to, create my own avatar and get into the virtual world and wear the Gucci's of the world, which I've never worn. And that's where the organizations are actually proceeding, and billions of dollars are being invested. So it's not just the Facebook that's become a meta today, right? It's so many other organizations are entering into this world called metaverse, right? And tomorrow it could be something related to the space, or you never know where things are going, right? So just the idea is to keep in tune and to keep pace with the latest that are coming in. And being in marketing and being in a part of a leader group, you always would need to keep yourself abreast with what's happening with the latest in this tech world, at least, because you never know what helps your organization, right? So the top marketeers or the top organizations like Adidas and Starbucks, many of them, McDonald's, many of them have already undertaken metaverse. So imagine a situation when a leader does not know the ABC of metaverse, whereas the strategic think tank recommends that this is the way forward to go with your marketing team. So you need to be abreast, otherwise you'll never be able to do justice. And it's a very recent phenomenon. The pace at which the change is happening is the pace at which you would need to upskill yourself. I can't help but, after listening to you, some very basic tenets, since we are talking about the youth, I would just tell them, if you want to build your personal brand, some generic things. Have absolute clarity. What do you want to achieve, right? Do you want to attract recruiters? Are you doing it to land in your dream job? Do you want to do it because you want to be seen as an expert in your field? So have absolute clarity, then position yourself accordingly. That's also, you need to do a lot of soul searching, right? What are your values? What is your unique proposition, right? Once you do that kind of a soul searching, then you should craft your messaging and persona, and it will definitely resonate with your target audience, right? And then I talked about contents. I'm a great proponent of the blog. Blogs have been rated as one of the most trusted source for accurate online information. So get into blogs, communicate well with your target audience, and then also don't just think online, because this is the digital phase. Brand building and personal brand building is an offline plus online process. Never forget that. You can, if you are handing over a business card at a networking event, that's also a great way of, doing your personal brand building, or speaking at a conference, right? Or networking with the speaker at that conference. And finally, for the youth, be patient. Rome was not built in a day. So your brand building exercise will never be built in a day. It's a painstaking process. It takes time. So if you're not patient enough, you will get easily discouraged. Keep creating quality content, keep engaging with others, and eventually people will start taking notice of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree with your points, because I have personally gone through those phases of my own learning while switching over from a professional career to doing something on my own, and that journey continues. I think what is important is that you have to have patience in terms of constantly trying and doing, because I mean, somebody said that at least the version 1 is better than version 0. So
Yes.
start with version 1, and obviously there could be many more as you go along. So absolutely, sir. Thank you so much for sharing the last part of the conversation. With those words, I thank you once again to spend time with us, with our viewers and listeners, to share your insights on the subject. And and giving all your knowledge to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I sincerely hope that this is going to be useful for your audience.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much.